Tropical Storm Bualoi lashing the Visayas region of the Philippines. Our latest tropical storm to be affecting the Philippines right now is Bualoi, Philippine name Opong, likely to become a typhoon, possibly before landfall, but maybe during its passage through the Philippines over the next couple of days, and nonetheless definitely by the time it reaches the South China Sea, currently with winds of 65 miles per hour sustained and a pressure estimate of 986 millibars, moving nearly due west, just slightly north of that, at 14 miles per hour or 22 kilometers per hour. That's the latest as of 6 p.m. Philippine time, with the storm approaching very closely now to the coast of Samar. It will continue on that trajectory for a while into the South China Sea later on, and is likely to gradually strengthen as it does so. Winds extending out 115 nautical miles on its northern two quadrants. Current location 11.2 north, 127.1 degrees east. And that puts it 150 kilometers from Cantahay, 230 from Tacloban, 304 from Catarman on Samar, 420 from Legazpi City, and 764 from Manila. Signal 3 warnings are in effect for the northeastern extremity really of Samar at this point. Signal 2 warnings extending out over a wider area, extending as far as southeastern Luzon, the Bicol region, and Signal 1 warnings extending through central Luzon, including for Manila at this point. That is 764 kilometers away from the storm at the moment. So the convective pattern of this storm that we're looking at really throwing up huge amounts of convection, so it favors very heavy rainfall concentrated near the center of the storm, quite a small core, with flash flooding likely from torrential rainfall over parts of the northern and central Visayas, any region that is underneath the core of this storm. Winds of up to typhoon force also possible as the storm sweeps through the islands, and that is definitely Well, Pagasa briefly have a typhoon peak before landfall and then back to severe tropical storm, but I think it may just be near that status all the way through. Here's our forecast for the next few days. We certainly expect it to strengthen a little bit more through the South China Sea and then along the coast of Vietnam, making landfall, then weakening quite quickly in the same fashion as Pagasa just did, but obviously in a slightly different place, moving inland over the Indochina region by midweek. So 65 mile per hour winds right now, which is supported by the JTWC and ADT satellite estimates. Pagasa a little bit higher and the JMA much higher actually. They're going for a fully fledged typhoon at this point, and quite a significant one. Certainly I think it will get there, but at this moment in time convection was flagging earlier in the day, but certainly this evening it really is starting to flare up again, and that is going to be causing a lot of rain issues. There's that Pagasa map showing you everything that you need to know about those signal warnings. Signal 1 warnings also affecting the northern part of Cebu, and also for islands such as Mindoro, northern Panay as well. So the Signal 3 warnings though, that's just that northeastern tip of northern and eastern Samar. JTWC forecast cone has the storm weakening a little bit actually before strengthening again to typhoon status eventually by the time it reaches the coast of Vietnam. I think it's going to be a bit stronger than that though. Here's the GFS forecast model, which certainly is egging this storm on, calling for a major category 3 typhoon there before reaching the coast of Vietnam, reaching its peak just 24 hours or so before that final landfall. Now let's just watch what happens initially though. Does it reach typhoon status through the Philippines? Not really, just as it's leaving Mindoro there, reaching typhoon status according to this particular model run, and then landfall as a significant typhoon in central to northern Vietnam and moving inland over that higher terrain, which will be causing the storm to weaken very quickly indeed. Looking at simulated radar reflectivity showing that the storm's core gradually gets itself together as it sweeps through those islands. It looks like it will be the northern and eastern side that will be producing the highest amounts of rainfall, certainly the highest rain rates. And it will also be enhancing monsoonal activity there in the Indochina region as well. Myanmar in particular is going to be getting lashed by very high amounts of rainfall, somewhat to do with the remnants of Pagasa, but also to do with the extremities really of Bualoi. So that's the rainfall situation. Let's take a look at the accumulated rainfall though. Taking a look through the Philippines there, you can see a big chunk of it getting significant rainfall amounts, and we're talking the central Visayas region in particular. Leyte probably getting some of the highest numbers there, as well as the island of Panay, and then also continuing on through to Vietnam, which will get the highest amounts on this forecast, at least getting up towards 26 inches, which would be 650 millimeters of rainfall, over 400 millimeters possible for mountainous regions of the Visayas region of the Philippines in the next couple of days. So that's a significant amount of rainfall there once again after another storm passing through. Sea surface temperatures expectations looking pretty good as well as the storm continues to move through the South China Sea. This area has been pretty untapped, so we're looking at least 29 degrees Celsius sea surface temperatures, and it's probably going to be a little bit higher than that, but a little bit lower just at this moment in time, but still 28 at least at this point. Sea surface temperatures are never going to be an issue for Bualoi. So here it is on satellite then over the course of the last few hours. It was very briefly exposed there on that visible imagery, Himawari 9 here looking at it, but gradual movement has been pretty much westerly, just slightly north of there, as you can see, drawing closer to those land areas in those latest frames, but also the convection really blowing up in those latest frames as well. Still not managing to completely overwhelm the whole area there. It did start to, but that convection was waning a little bit towards the end there. Still blowing up a lot of new convection, but certainly it could be a bit larger than this. Certainly that northeastern side looks like it's being hit pretty hard by wind shear, but towards the center of the storm there, really throwing up those cloud tops still. This is synthetic microwave imagery on what the storm may have looked like over the course of today, but this is computer generated there. They are experimenting with that, and this is more visible imagery showing the storm continuing on a wider shot now on the Force 13 website. You can take a look at this online, force13.com/satellite. Looking at water vapor as well, certainly there's going to be huge amounts of rainfall underneath this big shroud of convection, and that is one of the main concerns here as the storm continues to pile inland, that we're going to be talking about very, very torrential rainfall if you're caught underneath that cloud cover, which you can see, if those of you are familiar with the colours there, blowing up well into the minus 80s and 90s by the looks of things in some of those hot towers, which is displaced just a little bit to the west or southwest of the centre of the storm at this point. There's this air imagery, the one I'm most familiar with, really blew up in a big fashion just before there with massive cloud tops into the higher minus 90s by the looks of things. Very rare, but certainly an impressive look there. And here's a quick look at some radar. We just about got a frame or two there showing us some significant severe showers by the looks of things heading towards the coast of southern Samar right at this moment, and will probably be affecting there in the next hour or two. Wide shot taking a look at the ghost of Ragasa up there towards the top left. I'm surprised just how quickly it managed to weaken, but boy did it, look at it there. And then of course Bualoi in this area too, a relatively small system in comparison, not much banding around it at all. That is something that's going to come later. Well, around the world at this point, Nada is strengthening again in the Eastern Pacific back to Category 2 status. Umberto formed in the Atlantic last night, tropical storm status, and Gabriella Category 1, but still dangerous for the Azores. Ragasa moving well inland now, a remnant low. Bualoi, tropical storm still at this point on our estimates, and Neoguri still fighting up there, but all over the place.